See a lady at the door, bro. Hold the door for the lady, bro. That's P, bro. We pushing P. Arguing with your partner about money and doing a little sucker like that, like trying to act richer than your partner, like that ain't P. We're not doing it. We pushing P's, like we pushing P. You feel me?
What's going on, family? Welcome back to AO Roo, and 2022 is already starting off pushing P very heavy. Now, if you couldn't tell, man, today on this episode of Roo Reacts, as we welcome you guys back to the channel and into a new year, we're gonna be looking at not just one, but two different albums that released on the same day. We're looking at DS4EVER, the pinnacle, the finale to the Drip Season series that put Gunna in the prime position where he is today. And we're looking at Don FM, the 5th studio album from Able Tesfaye. What did you say? Also known as everybody's favorite, The Weeknd. All that being said, guys, if you clicked on today's video, we just want to take the time to thank you. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Let us know what these albums meant to you, which one you may have thought was better. It's tough because when albums release on the same day, obviously the comparison is going to be between those two. But we have such two different artists in this particular video that I feel like we're going to have a variety of different things to discuss, to look at, to break down, to analyze, and just to give really our first impression and reaction after listening to both of these projects for about a week. I wanted to give my ideas and kind of like the themes both of these albums have played off of. But anyways, with that being said, guys, thank you again for tuning in for another episode of Roo React. Subscribe to the channel and make sure you also turn that notification bell on, so anytime we drop a video, you guys will automatically be the first ones notified. We're back, baby. 2022 is here. You already know what we're here for, so let's get into it. So look, man, we need to have a serious conversation about Drip Season Forever. Off the muscle, I believe Gunna has this way with his albums to where when he releases them, that first listen, and I had this issue with Gunna, I had this issue with Drip or Drown 2, I had this issue with Drip Season 3, is that on the first listen of each of these albums, I don't necessarily like them. Not saying they're not good, not saying you can't listen to them, not saying the replay value is not there. I'm simply not P when I'm listening to these albums on the first playthrough. I don't know why. It gets to that second, that third, that fourth listen, and by that time I'm beginning to understand, oh, okay, this is a good body of work, this is a good project. Now, don't get me wrong, the tracks on this album are crazy and I do genuinely enjoy them, but more or less it's Gunna and it's what you're gonna hear from Gunna. This is simply just an album to remind you who he is, remind you why he's there, and also pay homage to really the mixtape series that even put him in this position in the first place. And I feel like on this album particularly, you got a little bit more introspective in certain areas and really gave us maybe little pieces and tidbits to his life. Not to mention the production on this entire album is crazy. Getting into the track list a little bit, the crazy thing is it starts off to me on such a high note with Private Island, Pushin P, Hoochie Gown. You really starting to get to some of my favorite tracks when you have that Mop and the Thought I Was Playing kind of right back next to each other. Right after that, you have the P Power, which came on a little bit later with Drake. I thought that one in particularly, I'm a Drake fan, so I'm always going to appreciate a Drake feature, but that more or less kind of just, I felt like it did its job, and in the right settings, it's an amazing song. How you did that with Kodak Black is also phenomenal. A lot of cake. Living Wild is where I really felt like I heard a different side of Gunna. When I listened to Living Wild, I actually heard transparency. I heard a lot of personal things. You know, it's a song where Gunna says himself, I don't talk about my feelings, I hide it, you know, and the way I hide it is through the consumption of drugs because my body is so used to it. And I'm like, dang, Gunna, I didn't know you was going through these health problems. And you know, earlier in 2021, he had a little bit of a scare when he went to the hospital with pneumonia, and to kind of hear him give his thoughts on that, I thought that was pretty cool, allowing, you know, obviously the fans, and to really display through that music, you know, the pain and sort of what he was struggling with, man. So that honestly hit me a little bit different because I was surprised to hear Gunna get as introspective, reflective, and kind of open up a little bit in terms of his personal life and what he was dealing with. And the music video for that was pretty good too. Aside from that, man, if you're looking at the rest of the track list, you do have a couple songs like You and Me, Baby feature, 25K Jacket. Obviously Too Easy with Future was the lead off single and the only single from this album. The G Herbo feature is nice. You have Flooded, Life of Sin, Die Alone with Chris Brown and Young Blue, Missing Me, So Far Ahead, Empire, which again, Missing Me and So Far Ahead are more of those introspective kind of I'm gonna talk a little bit about my life. Where this album truly excels, in my opinion, is the production. Hands down is the production. I think up, down, left to right, this album could not have been put together any better in terms of the instrumental selection that Gunna picked and everybody that was pushing this album on the other side in the production area. Turbo, Doris, Wheezy, Southside, Michael made it, 808 Mafia, Metro Boomin, everybody did a phenomenal job. And that's what I love about Gunna's beats. He always picks the best beats. Truly easy to see that. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, to finish this one up, he has a Too Easy remix with Roddy Ricch and Future, and Roddy hopping on a joint makes me feel like he should have originally been on the song. Generally speaking, like he just should have been on it from the jump. I don't know why they didn't include it. I don't know why they have him on the remix. He didn't belong on the remix. He belonged on the original. All jokes aside, he definitely floated it, and it was a nice way, I think, to close out this album. Overall, after my listens, after kind of sitting down on it, kind of giving it a little bit of time to settle within me, I came to the point where this album really just became a victory lap. I feel like it's Gunna's way of saying, Drip Season, thank you. Thank you for doing all you've done for me in my career, and thank you for being such an integral part of my artistry that I'm gonna make Drip Season 4 the only album. All the drip, all the slime, all the slide, a lot of that comes from, you know, this camp in this area in Atlanta. So to see Gunna fully embrace, obviously everything for him has been drip. I think this is the perfect stamp. To me personally, I did enjoy this album. I'm not gonna give it as much hate, I feel like, as a lot of other people have. I think it was a disappointment or it was terrible. I genuinely think this is a good Gunna album. I think this is what he's supposed to be doing at this point in his career. And I think at this point, if you don't know who Gunna is, this is the perfect album to introduce you to Gunna, to say, hey, look, this is Gunna. This is a Gunna album. And I think it's a great celebration to all of his accomplishments and achievements, to how far Gunna has come. This is also a good way to lead off into 2022. So all that being said, DS4EVER, solid album. I think you should give it a listen. Able. So, Dawn FM, the 5th studio album from The Weeknd. Oh boy, I have a lot of thoughts on this one, and it's not necessarily bad. If I could use 2 words, I just need 2 words to describe this album. It would be versatile, interesting. I don't think I've ever heard The Weeknd in this type of bag. This album is so 80s, pop, dance, synth, funk. When I first met The Weeknd, I met the trilogy Weeknd, right? And if you understand being around at that point in time when The Weeknd was in his trilogy bag, you more or less kind of understand that that period of The Weeknd was, I mean, that was The Weeknd. There's no other way to explain it. Truly, I guess, is my issue with Dawn FM. Not saying it's a bad album or it's a bad project, but it's definitely a flip script from After Hours, his 2020 album release. And I'm not gonna lie to you, in the bigger picture of things, it's definitely supposed to be what it's supposed to be. It serves a purpose. It's supposed to be the turning of a leaf. You know, the theme itself is this album is a radio station. You have Jim Carrey narrating it, which I didn't find out till, I want to say, yesterday at the time of this recording. That kind of threw me off, but it just builds to the ambiance and kind of the effort that he puts into his albums. This album plays like a radio station called Dawn FM, and essentially you're supposed to be seeing the light, going to the light at the end of the tunnel after, you know, this time where we've been in this pandemic and it's kind of been a little greasy, a little grimy. The Weeknd is supposed to be, you know, the savior and give us this bright, loving pop album, right? That's, you know, truly supposed to be just something completely different than After Hours was. And here's what Roo's response is going to be to that. Here's Roo's reaction to that one. I don't want that happy. I want none of that happy-go-lucky nonsense. I want grimy. You gave me After Hours. I want Snow Child. I want Escape from LA. I want the Repeat After Me interlude. I want After Hours. I want that. Abel, you start giving me this happy-go-lucky. My soul doesn't feel right. My soul doesn't feel right. I'm happy for you. This album was great. You really, you really got in your bag for this one to show your versatility and truly expand upon your artistry. And that's one thing I can genuinely trust when it comes to The Weeknd, is that he has such a versatile bag that he will never make a project sound the same. He will never sound the same, right? I've been listening to him now for what feels like 5 years, maybe longer than that, obviously. No, I'll say 5 years. Dear God, he made The Crew with Drake in 2011. Oh my God. Point being is, he is just in his bag. And I can truly trust now, knowing 10 plus years later, listening to Dawn FM, I'm not going to get the same Weeknd project twice. And that hurts me, but that also gives me hope because I know he's actually putting a full on effort into his projects. Let's get into that track list a little bit. Crazy thing about this one is that Quincy Jones has his hand in production with this alongside a lot of other producers who I didn't really know until I actually had to do, you know, a little bit of research. Again, it's so upbeat that it completely throws me off. You listen to the songs and you're kind of just like, yo, this is not grimy, this is not greasy, this is truly a completely different album than what he released only 2 years ago in 2020. With this one, you had the intro with Don FM, which served again as, you know, a little opener, Abel harmonizing on the back, right? A little bit of a little bit of harmonization on there, going to Gasoline, which is the first kind of curveball. He has this weird accent going on, like he's supposed to be in a UK band, and I'm not gonna lie to you, the first thing that reminded me of was like the 1975, or maybe a little bit of UK pop, right? Nothing bad, it just got in a completely different bag there. How Do I Make You Love Me was a nice little follow-up going into Take My Breath and Sacrifice. I thought he opened up with a nice five piece, right? Something to show you, hey, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm going to give you something different and you should know. And if you don't understand that after listening to these 5 songs, I just can't help you anymore, Jack. That's on you. He goes into a Tell by Quincy, and that really threw me for a loop because Quincy Jones, who we all know is the, you know, producer of Michael Jackson Thriller, right? Whatever. Quincy Jones goes into this dialogue where he talks about how the lack of a motherly figure in his life affected how he viewed women and kind of the distrust it settled within his life when it came to his relationship with having a motherly figure around. Like, he just said that it messed him up and he didn't really, you know, it kind of screwed him over in his growth and his development. And I mean, honestly, that was more or less like, that segment in particular felt like it should have been on an after hours where everything is again greasy and grimy. But to hear all these upbeat dance pop, to hear the Weeknd go from these 5 songs that are truly of an upbeat, of a happy-go-lucky vibe, just to jump into Tell by Quincy, which feels like, honestly, listening to somebody's PTSD, like, oh, this feels like it should have been on House of Balloons. Like, oh, this kind of, oh, okay. However, this leads into my favorite track off this album, which is Out of Time. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was Out of Time, and that one gave me a lot of Die For You vibe, a lot of Starboy, right? And maybe that's why I liked it, because I got a sense of familiarity in particular with that track and the next one, Here We Go Again, with the Tyler the Creator feature. But the crazy thing is, man, in the discussions I've had with the people around me and my listening to this album time and time again, I'm not getting the same thing, and that's what I enjoy the most about it. I am hearing something different every time I put this album on. As an artist, I personally feel like, and this is again, I'll say more or less, this is just a personal opinion, my perspective, don't kill me. In being an artist, I feel like development should come naturally. You know, obviously, the more you invest into your craft, then probably naturally, hopefully, the easier it should get in terms of you getting comfortable and beginning to find out who you are, what your craft is, how to develop it, and how to bring about the best of it. The more I listen to Abel, the more I'm able to understand he is not settling within his role. He's not taking, oh, I know I can sing, I know I can hit a quality of notes, I know I make a lot of good heartbreak music, but he's trying to experiment and get out of his bag, working with tons and tons and tons of different producers, artists, having different styles. I mean, honestly, you look at this, there is 2 features on this, and they're primarily by rappers. Now, Tyler the Creator, you know, his music kind of within the Weeknd has become ambiguous, where it doesn't have a genre to me personally, because he switches it up so well. I think this album had the same effect that Igor did. It's completely different, man, but it's a really good different, it's a valuable different, and this album has easily the opportunity, with this being the beginning of 2022, to kind of kickstart a snowball effect with the rest of these albums. Even at the end of the day, probably be a contender for album of the year at Grammys. I'm not gonna lie to you, I think this album had that much of an impact, even if it didn't resonate with me as well as After Hours, House of Balloon, Thursday, Starboy, or any of that. Like, no, this genuinely hit in accordance with me, because I love hearing the growth and seeing that development and seeing that change up in artists over time, to where they get in different bags, they experiment. I'm not gonna knock you if you try something new and maybe it just doesn't work out. At least you decided to try the risk and get out of that bag, and not just do what you know is gonna be the moneymaker, or it's gonna be easy, or it's gonna be simple. Ultimately trying to develop yourself in every aspect and not being okay with just being okay. So hey man, look, Don FM, I'm not gonna lie to you, you want to check out a couple tracks, check out Out of Time, check out Here We Go Again, check out I Heard You're Married, Gasoline, How Do I Make You Love Me, Sacrifice, all good songs, right? This album was phenomenal. I'll give the Weeknd his credit where it's due. Again, even if it's not something I may throw on, even if it's something that doesn't have as many tracks as I would like to play on repeat, I won't sit here and knock the album, because it's a good album. Overall, I think, you know, this first Friday, January 7th, I think it generally brought us, I mean, 2 great projects. Gunna's DS4EVER and Dawn FM are two completely different albums. With the syrupy sweetness of a Drip Season Forever, you're really hearing Gunna coming full circle with everything he's been working for. And come on, man, you love to see it, right? Support a guy. He's finally getting to the point in his place where he's comfortable, and he's telling you he's comfortable and he's living his life, but he's giving you kind of a little bit of introspection to that point, and also maybe giving you a cheers to, hey, look, we're here, and I can finally put this season that's done everything for me to proper rest with this album. And I genuinely enjoyed that. And on FM, you have The Weeknd yet again breaking out of his box to deliver a sensational project. One that doesn't really correlate with the rest of his music, but at the same time, that's the best thing about it. It doesn't correlate with the rest of his music. If I throw on Dawn FM and if I throw on Starboy, you're gonna get two completely different things. You're gonna hear the same person behind both of those albums. You're gonna get two different sounds. And honestly, hey, you gotta love to hear it and you gotta love to see it. So with all that being said, guys, coming up, we're gonna be taking a look at the next video from a bird's eye view. Album just recently dropped by Corday. I'm excited to dive into that one. I had to get through 2 albums in 1 week this time, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all, the amount of back and forth I did but I genuinely enjoyed listening to both of these projects. I can't wait to listen to that from a bird's eye view. I've been putting it off specifically just so I can get all my thoughts and my opinions out when it came to these 2 projects. With that being said, man, if you're not listening to these projects, then you're not pushing P. So come on now, let's switch it up. Let's get back on track and let's do what we're supposed to. Hey man, it's been your boy Ayo Roo. Make sure you guys leave a like down below or leave a dislike if you just absolutely hated both of these albums. That's cool too. That's your personal preference. I'm not gonna hate on you. Make sure you leave a comment about what you thought about both of these projects, right? What you took away from them, and ultimately, you know, what maybe resonated better with you. Leave your favorite track down below so I can go back and listen to something that I may have missed. If there's any albums that are coming out in 2022 that you're looking forward to, drop them in the comments down below as well, right? Let's get excited for another year of great music. Aside from that, man, again, make sure you share today's video if you did enjoy it, and click that notification bell so every time that, you know, Ayo Roo releases, you'll be notified and you'll be able to be the first to see when we drop. All that being said, thank you guys for tuning into today's episode of Roo Reacts, giving you my first initial thoughts and breakdowns on Dawn FM and Drip Season Forever. You already know how it goes, man. You know what we say: stay blessed, smile more, or worry less. We'll catch you in the next video. I'm not gonna let Future slide with that bar. She not a lesbian. She pushed P, she a lesbian. Like, what was... Oh my gosh.